Hello VC, Big Star 1000 with a new installment of Revolutions. It's a series in which I show you what I've been playing during the week. I haven't done one in a couple of weeks, so there's a big stockpile of records there. I'm not going to show you everything, that would take 3 hours. I'll show you a few. And I'm gonna get started because you're not here to hear me talk crap, or maybe you are. I went to dig with my friend Gareth Fitzpatrick, who is a VC watcher, and we went to a couple of shops. It was 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I came across this Tom Waits record, which I've never had or I've never owned or anything, and it was there for 20 bucks, and I couldn't, it was, too good to pass up. And it's a really nice record. I haven't explored it fully as much as I should yet, but I've really enjoyed what I've heard. It's very much in line with his classic stuff, so I enjoyed this. I also okay, well these are in really random order, so I apologize if this seem a bit random. This is a French West Indies classic. It's un jeudi à l'Arawak avec Guadeloupe Réflexion. This is a jazz funk record from the French West Indies, from the island of Guadeloupe. It's really sort of infused with that kind of Caribbean groove, but there's lots of Fender Rhodes, and it's really groovy. I mean, it's, if you like, stuff on Strata East or that kind of, Rhodes, funky grooves, you dig this big time. This is obviously just a reissue, or a reissue, because originals of these are worth I don't know how much. But I've had these for quite a few years, and I don't put it out very often, but it was really nice to hear. It's very groovy, very funky. I've played a lot of Talking Heads, David Byrne, etc. this week, the past 2 weeks. I went to see David Byrne in Melbourne last weekend, and it was just about one of the most amazing gigs I've ever been to. I mean, I'm not kidding. If you've got an idea about what the show looks like, it's called the American Utopia show, and it's really well choreographed. So there's about 12 musicians on stage, and none of them have got fixed instruments. That is, they're all walking around with their either drums or their keyboards. There's no leads, there's no amplifiers, there's just all of them 12 people on stage dancing, and it's very physical. And David Byrne just really produced the goods in so many ways. He played some classic songs from his classic albums. He played Izimbra, he played Once in a Lifetime, he played Burning Down the House, he played Born Under Punches, The Heat Goes On, he played The Great Curve of Remain Light, which was amazing, really amazing. So anyway, I've been digging his stuff, and this is one of my favorite albums by the Talking Heads. And really, the Talking Heads are really one of my probably top 5 favorite bands. They're just, they're an amazing group. So if you're not into them yet, there's still time. A little bit of jazz. I revisited, sorry about the noise. I revisited this record, Nefertiti by Miles Davis. This is a beautiful repress on Legacy, whatever. I have mostly originals of Miles, but this is a really nice reissue. It's got Miles Davis, Wayne Shorter on sax, Herbie Hancock on piano, Ron Carter on bass, and Tony Williams on drums. How can you go wrong? This is a great record, really. It's kind of this sort of pre-electric Miles kind of vibe. But you know, I think you're just about there when you think about this record. I really like getting into Brazilian records as well. As you know, I mean, if you watch my channel, you know I love Brazilian music. And this week I revisited, re-explored Marcos Valle, Previsão do Tempo, which is probably his best record. This is an amazing piece of music from start to finish. It's a Brazilian classic, bona fide. And I mean, just everything's good. The opening track really sets the tone. I highly recommend this record. It's from 1973. This is a 2012 reissue on Light in the Attic on clear vinyl, which is cool. It was the pre-order kind of deal that you could get clear vinyl. Apparently clear vinyl is the best sounding vinyl. You know, apparently coloured vinyl is the worst sounding vinyl, but clear is the purest. Well, there you go. I played some of my, you know, I felt like this week, just playing some of my favourite records ever. Some classics of my my collection, one of which is Sea Change by Beck, an album that he released in 2002. This is really a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful album. It's a singer-songwriter record. It's very introspective, but it's also kind of funky as well. My favorite record, Histoire de Mélodie Nelson by Serge Gainsbourg, is often credited as an inspiration on this, because you've got these the orchestra and the choir in the background, the way it's organized and arranged is very reminiscent, especially on Paper Tiger. This is, in my opinion, the best Beck record. That or Odelay, obviously, or Mutations. No, Mutations is really good too. All right. I also really enjoyed revisiting Sam Monday, which is a band which was made of expats from the Caribbean in London, people from Guyana and Jamaica, and also I think there's another place. No, Guyana and Jamaica. Okay, so Guyana is in South America, just at the top of Brazil, and obviously Jamaica, you know what it is. This is one of the best records of the time period, full stop. I think it's one of the best records in anyone's collection. It's just really amazingly funky. It's got a reggae groove to it. It's just, the bass is up the charts. Every song is catchy. It's a monster record, really. And it's one that, you know, for the past 10 years has been, you know, every time I've played this record, it's kept amazing me. So everybody should own it. This is a record that I bought 2 weeks ago. It's a reissue on Soul Jazz. It's an English jazz composer called Chris Bowden. It's called Time Capsule. It's got the most horrible cover ever. I mean, this thing is just, it's like he's splattered vomit on his thing. But the inside is actually better than the outside. The inside is this quite evocative picture of a lion hunting. This was originally released on Soul Jazz in 1996, and it was reissued this year. And it's really amazing kind of electric jazz record. Like if you think Herbie Hancock, but done by an English guy from the 90s, and that's what you get. Herbie Hancock, Miles Davis. I very highly recommend this record. It's really, it's future jazz with, yeah, dashes of, yeah, Herbie and Miles, and, you know, a little bit of, you know, a little bit of DJ Shadow there as well, you know, in sort of, not that he was inspired by DJ Shadow, but you can see that the sounds that you hear introducing are also sort of there. They were released in the same year, but I don't think, you know, DJ Shadow was an inspiration per se. I revisited this spiritual jazz masterpiece. Well, it says that in the hype sticker. It's the Carsten Minot Quartet from Denmark. This is a stunning Coltrane-like record, except done by a bunch of white people instead of black jazzmen from America. They're just, but really, it's just so excellent. That was reissued in a few years ago when I got this, probably about 2-3 years ago. But I really dig this record. It starts with Naima by John Coltrane, which you will know. It's just top notch. Next, I have revisited, as I said, some of my favorites, and this here is a definitely top 10 records of, for me, top 10 is Violator by Depeche Mode. Top 10 ever since I heard it in the late 90s. This record has been with me, like it's printed there. It's just a really, essential record in my opinion, but it's, for me, it's also sentimental because I heard it so many times, and I think this record really sums up everything I like about electronic music, pop music as well. It's very brooding as well. It's got some little bit of an eerie kind of vibe at times, but it's, you can see that the drugs were strong in the making of those 90s Depeche Mode records. They were just like, Dave Gahan was quite affected by this all. There's a song called Clean, which talks about this desire to be free of drugs. And what's interesting about Violator too is that Dave Gahan and Martin Gore share the vocals, but you can't tell who's who. They sound exactly similar. It's amazing. I played this Australian jazz album, experimental jazz album, The Next Mindset. The Next are a band that release lots and lots of sort of improvised jazz, and they usually put one song per side. It's like they're jamming and stuff, and then they jam, and then they record it, and then they release it. This is their album from 2010 or something, or something like that. 2011, and it's really sort of, you can just put that on in the background. It works its way through your subconscious. It's a nice record. Australian jazz. South African jazz, great record by Chris Macgregor and the Brotherhood of Breath. I hadn't played this for a while. I really enjoyed revisiting this. This is a wonderful, avant-garde jazz record, bit spiritual as well. And Chris Macgregor is a pianist, jazz pianist. There he is, there in the middle. That's him there. And it's a nice segue because if you listen to Brighter Later by Nick Cave, you can hear Chris Macgregor. He plays on Poor Boy. There. Poor Boy, which is one of the best songs on the album. And that's him on piano. And I heard a podcast where Joe Boyd said that he just did it in like 1 or 2 takes. He just did it because he was in the studio at the time, was recording an album. And he just happened to say to Joe Boyd, kind of stay behind, because I like this guy's music, and he ended up playing on Brighter Later. So that's cool. Eh? This is my favorite Nick Drake record. Still is. This is gorgeous. Northern Sky. Next is another one of my favorites, post-punk records. The sound, I've showed this a million times. Imagine early U2 meets Echo and the Bunnymen meets The Teardrop Explodes, but that's basically the sounds. The songs are all catchy and amazing. And Adrian Borland, the singer, died very tragically, very young, but he made a string of really killer records. A little bit of Arabic music, a little bit of like Eastern grooves. This is Azar Habib with Zouk. Really groovy records with you know, him is playing the, I don't know, it's a lute or an oud or whatever it is. They've all got different names in different countries, those stringed instruments. I think it's probably an oud or something. Oh, and it's a buzuk. No, of course it's a buzuk. I'm so stupid. Yes, it's a buzuk. That's why it's called buzuk. Yes, ignore me. I'm stupid. And lots of really great funky drumming. This is a wonderful record. It was not cheap when I bought it, but it's really, really, really nice. Really nice record. The other day I was in the shop Plug 7. It's a record store in Melbourne on Smith Street with Gareth. And Ari, the owner of the store, put this in my hand. He said, you know, you gotta hear this. So he played for me on the system, and I really enjoyed it. So I bought it. It's Godtet. It's a jazz band from Sydney, and it's fronted by a guy called Godriguez. What a name, Godriguez. Very, very cool avant jazz from Sydney. Really, really nice record. Very, very easily played. I played this about 3 or 4 times. It's, you know, really cool record. And the last record I'm going to show you is Ezra Collective, which I found for cheap a couple of weeks ago. Oh, about a month ago. I said a month ago. I didn't mean to buy this. I think a lot of jazz records at the moment are super, super hyped, and you know, you feel like, you know, if you don't buy them, you're not in or something, or whatever the fuck people talk about. I don't know, but I found this for $25 or something in a local store, and I thought I'll just give it a go. I didn't even play it when I bought it. It was sealed. I thought I'll just take it home, and this is a great record. Actually, it's really, really good, and it sounds great. It's, you know, again, I've used the word funky a lot during this video, but yeah, I think it is quite amazing in that sense. And I have a subscription to a German record magazine called Mint. That's the last thing I'm going to say. And Mint is just basically a German vinyl records magazine, and I must be the only person in Australia subscribed to Mint. I had to write them a special email to send me the magazine monthly. Why do I subscribe to Mint? Because I've learnt German, and I sort of like to maintain my level of German by reading stuff that I enjoy reading. Anyway, this month, I opened the magazine, and I was quite surprised and in some way delighted to come across VC's own Diana Biernat, which was cool, and it's a good story. Yeah. Anyway, there you go.